Houston beating Texas A&M last night in one of the craziest, wackiest, stupidest games you could possibly imagine. Can I paint you a picture here? I'm setting up at 11 p.m. at my desk to record this podcast, and I think the game is over. Houston's up by 13. There's no way that A&M even makes this remotely a game, and instead 48 points from the Aggies in the second half. They played this whole free throw game. Houston doesn't make all their free throws. At some point, Jamal Shed fouls out. That was an overtime. LJ Cryer fouls out. Francis fouls out. This was an ugly, terrible, awful game. But guess what Houston did? They survived. And guess what Iowa State did? They survived. They forgot how to play offense in the first half against Washington State on Saturday, and they still won. These are two very different games. I thought Houston's offense was as good as it's been all year. We saw them score, I think it was against Oklahoma, 85 points. Felt like that was, hey, even when the defense isn't exactly 100%, the offense can be there. And I wouldn't say that Iowa State, that applies. I wouldn't say, oh, well, when Iowa State's defense shows up or doesn't show up, the offense can be there. I've been worried about Iowa State's offense, and they didn't. To me, it wasn't, oh, wow, Iowa State's offense just took over against Washington State. No, the defense beat the Cougars into submission at the end of this one. 67-56 was the final score. Washington State did not score more than 29 points in either the first or the second half. To start in that game, I was worried very early. I go back to that 59-41 game against Pitt last year where Iowa State lost because the offense just wasn't there. And in the first half of this one, I thought, oh, no, Washington State looks good. Iowa State does not. I don't like that. I got immediate flashbacks, but I shouldn't have. Taman Lipsey exists, and scoring 15 points for Iowa State is like scoring 30 for most teams. That is good. That's a fourth-ish of the team's points against Washington State, and the defense was elite. Even when the offense isn't 100%, they aren't perfect. They aren't putting up big numbers. The defense is so good, so much better even than it was last year, in my opinion, that Iowa State can make a run continually. They are still my favorite to go to the Final Four. I love what TJ Otzelberger has done. I think they beat Illinois by double digits. I thought that BYU would beat Illinois by double digits. As we know, they lost to Duquesne. Iowa State, to me, still my Final Four pick. The defense is that good. I don't believe that Illinois has seen something like that playing in the Big Ten, and I've got Iowa State waltzing past Illinois. Now to address the Houston conundrum. Look, it happens. The closest I've been to a national championship team was 2021. I was a sophomore at Baylor at the time and followed that team very closely, watched them live weekly and watched them play in Indianapolis in the Final Four, watched them win the national championship against Gonzaga. At this Houston team, the only two things that I would use to compare to this Houston team that really match up well are an NBA squad or that 2021 Baylor national championship team. Because when the defense isn't there, or when the defense is there and the other team is just shooting red hot lights out, the Radford kid for Texas A&M, my hat, it goes off. Like, that dude didn't deserve to lose this game. When that happens, a national championship caliber team has to be good enough to have the third guy down the line, the fourth guy down the line that steps up and you go, oh, I didn't know that he was going to be that good. For Baylor, it was like an Adam Flagler. It was maybe a Macy O.T. He wasn't the second best guy on the team, but he was that third option that if you really needed him, he was going to explode. Sharp for Houston, Shed for Houston, Cryer for Houston, the Elvin kid that comes in at the very end. Like, I don't know if he's single, but he's good now. You're set, buddy. Makes one free throw to help send Houston to the Sweet 16. We'll tell his grandkids that. Like, I'd never heard of this kid. I have watched a lot of Houston basketball this year. Ryan Elvin was not on my list of guys, the walk-on senior, to help seal the deal for the Cougars in March Madness, but he did, and it rocked. That is what you need to win a national championship. You need guys that people might not have keyed in on, that might not be at the very top of the scouting report to go off. And that was the case for Emmanuel Sharp. He was unreal in this win for Houston. He was unreal late. And Jamal Shed might be the best player in the tournament. I know people make these Zach Edey, they love him and he's good, and I get it. He is good. I think Jamal Shed has a legitimate case to be tournament MVP when all is said and done and Houston wins it all. My hat does go off to Texas A&M. You have to give them some credit for what they did. Houston is still my national champion. Also, fun aside, this tournament has kind of stunk. Just a lot of the right teams winning, Baylor losing. Ugh. It's one of the few upsets of the day. It was gross, by the way. It's just a gross game that they were getting killed, and they weren't anymore, and they lost still. TCU losing, that ruined things for me. Texas Tech. There's just not fun things that happen for the Big 12. That's a point of conversation the rest of this week of what went wrong for some of these Big 12 teams. But I don't know. I don't feel like we performed to the level we were supposed to. The ACC is playing better than us right now, and I just don't think that's good for this conference. But Houston, Iowa State, you're anchoring us. The two best defensive teams are moving on, and I'm thankful. Coming up, Kim Mulkey's done it again. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team, and it is every day. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. LinkedIn Talent Solutions is where I go. It's when I think like, oh, shoot, I need to hire somebody for a job. I go to LinkedIn Talent Solutions. When I need to hire an intern for this very show, I went to LinkedIn Talent Solutions because they can help me hire faster. You got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. They have the tools to help you find the right professionals for free. They're not just another job board. They have a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, and most small businesses, 86%, get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats. They might not have time or the resources to hire, so they want to help you. 2.5 small businesses, 2.5 million. 2.5 is much smaller than 2.5 million. Small businesses are using LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply.